Ms. Cheryl Chan.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, may I propose an amendment to Mr. Dennis Tan's first amendment?
Can I have a copy of the amendment, please? Okay, the amendment's in order. You have copies made for all the members.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I've given copies to the clerk for distribution.
Okay, please move your amendment. We just distribute the amendments to the members first. Ms. Chan, please move your amendment.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that after the word acknowledges in Mr. Tan's first amendment, to leave out the words a climate emergency and to insert the words that climate change is a global emergency and a threat to mankind. Sir, let me explain the rationale to the amendment. Today, Singapore makes up 0.1% of global emissions annually. Hence, declaring a climate emergency in Singapore alone is insufficient. Singapore has done a fair amount to balance our growth, development, and environmental protection. But actions against climate change must take place in Singapore and beyond our shores. Be it roadmaps, the type of investments, supply chains, energy demand, and much more, Singapore is a part of a larger international solution. Thus, we need to look into these efforts globally and how they impact mankind. Singapore can certainly contribute our part, and we must do so no matter how small or large we are. Having heard many suggestions and views from the members on both sides of this House, we all agree that this is an area we should focus on, and it is the actions and measures taken now that matter. In the spirit of mutual improvement towards the same goal, I hope both sides of the House will support the amendment. This is what the proposed amendments to the motion reads: that this House acknowledges that climate change is a global emergency and a threat to mankind, and calls on the government, in partnership with the private sector, civil society, and the people of Singapore, to deepen and accelerate efforts to mitigate and adapt to climate change, and to embrace sustainability in the development of Singapore. Mr. Speaker, the decarbonization journey is a multifaceted and dynamic one. The efforts and commitment, however, should not be shy of determination and innovation from different stakeholders in society. Today, I'll touch on two themes: the need for sustainability accounting on greenhouse gas, GHG, and carbon emissions, and preparing the talent pool to embark on this green economy in Singapore. It is my hope that we can achieve our goals in fighting climate change. Let's begin by discussing how, through different aspects, we can enable Singapore to be more focused in our actions and obtain more tangible outcomes. First, greater accountability and consistent standards of measuring GHG and carbon emissions. The development of framework to deal with GHG and carbon emissions depends heavily on the ability to measure, account, and document emissions. To be fair, many companies and industries have already introduced standards to measure carbon emissions as part of their environment, social, and governance ESG contributions. However, the pertinent issue is there are many different standards and accounting practices being used, thereby making it difficult to do a cross-industry assessment or benchmark companies within the same sector. Before the proposals, I will provide an understanding of what other jurisdictions are doing globally. Regulators globally are currently adopting a more prescriptive approach to ESG reporting by making such reporting mandatory rather than voluntary. In 2007, Sweden mandated state-owned companies to publish sustainability reports. In June 2020, the Bank of England also published its first climate risk disclosure report based on the framework by the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, TCFD. And more recently, regulators have begun to introduce ESG reporting obligations for financial market participants, and not just companies. Europe is the first jurisdiction to mandate ESG reporting for asset managers. From March 2021, asset managers in Europe will be required to disclose how they integrate ESG factors into their investments. Additionally, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, UN SDG, has called for the harmonization of accounting standards for GHG to facilitate transparency, accuracy, and comparability of climate actions. Thus, I want to propose concrete actions through the following. A, companies must publish an annual ESG report based on standardized reporting frameworks. Using standardized frameworks, which I'll elaborate later, this would help establish a common criterion of measurement and consequently assessment in the annual carbon footprint of an organization, thus facilitating baseline comparison across different companies and industries. As a next step, companies can establish carbon emission reduction targets against their own baseline and the industry's benchmark of an ideal carbon footprint. This would better help Singapore companies take reference and adjust their goals using the industry benchmark. In a way, companies that are ahead of the curve in their decarbonization plans and measurement of emission measurements can share best practices with those experiencing difficulties in meeting their targets. Further, with industry-wide efforts and government directive, the focus can be placed in dedicating resources towards assisting companies in finding ways to remedy and improve their situation rather than penalizing. It is the collaborative ecosystem approach that we want to encourage in the value chain and bring all parties towards the same goal. Thinking longer term, with a more standardized and quantified approach, we as a nation will be better positioned to continuously review the adequacy of our carbon emission target and adopt technological solutions to accelerate our achievements towards the goal. B, Monetary Authority of Singapore to provide a list of reporting frameworks that can be mandated for the annual ESG reporting. While there are many GHG accounting standards adopted by industries today, the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, SASB, and the TCFD appear to have the largest relevance and ease of adoption across industries. These frameworks are also recommended by UN SDG and the market participants. The frameworks have their respective strengths and identified subsets of ESG issues most applicable to financial performance. It also recognizes that not all sustainability issues have equal weightage to each industry, and the same sustainability issue may manifest differently across industries. While the Singapore Exchange SGX currently mandates ESG reporting, the reporting guidelines are loosely framed, which allows for much flexibility in reporting, thus hampering the ability in making meaningful interpretations and comparison of emissions that we urgently require to understand. I'm certainly cognizant that it will be a tall order for many companies without the ability to administer and comply with a reporting framework. Hence, the suggestion is to begin mandating specific framework of reporting from the larger public listed companies, including multinational companies. The larger companies in Singapore can take the lead in adopting the frameworks. So at the start, the support will be given to provide induction for SMEs who may have limited knowledge about their supply chains or their production footprint. In the interim, more can be done educating and heighten awareness amongst the local SMEs on the significance of selected frameworks, applicability to their industries, and the annual ESG reporting method. The purpose is to gain their buy-in and not merely treating this as another regulation that needs to be adhered to or to increase the cost of business. This way, we exercise prudence to ensure that the smaller SMEs have a roadmap to adopt the frameworks and compliance cost of ESG reporting is taken into consideration for future. Second, getting everyone on board the fight in climate change. The green economy is a new model of sustainable growth and an exciting one. However, there exists a gap today between interests of participants entering this economy and their ability to embark. Much needs to be done to develop Singapore's infrastructure and talent pool for sustainable accounting should it eventually become legislated and the job opportunities in the green economy blossoms. To bridge this gap, here are some suggestions of immediate actions that can be taken to enhance the quality and understanding of sustainability for those interested to participate in this field. 1. Provide more variety in the courses at institutes of higher learning for those who are interested in the field of sustainability as a career. Example, financial accounting for sustainability, low carbon manufacturing and materials, food supply alternatives. 2. Facilitate early or mid-career moves towards job focus on environmental sustainability in partnerships with companies through structured mentorship and work transition programs. 3. Work with industries and the public sector to outline the types of future green jobs and constantly align on skills and competencies that's required for such roles in emerging sectors. 4. Develop understanding of sustainability as a career and professionalizing the green economy, as the current perception is that green jobs usually exist in non-profit organizations. We can accelerate at the beginning of this transformation through adding a pillar in the Industry Transformation Map, ITM, with specific focus on sustainability. The industry sectors with more advanced capability around sustainability can provide the inputs to our strategies and guidelines on the roadmap for others to take reference. Over time, the sustainability element can then be incorporated directly under each of the 23 ITMs. This hybrid approach will enable Ministry of Trade and Industry to better shape the development of training, programs and infrastructures to create more eco-friendly business environment that supports inclusion of sustainability within the sectors over time. With the Sustainability ITM, sustainability will be put at the forefront and elevating its role and importance within the businesses and our society. The public-private sector partnerships through economies of scale can be better deployed where there's visibility and definition of scope as opportunities arise across industries. Greater exchange of best practices, R&D and innovation can also be identified with greater synergy for collaborative work to drive the green economy. Further, data pooling will ultimately result in better design of processes, improve efficacy, shorten learning curve, drive fresh investments and reduce the overall carbon footprint. Mr. Speaker, Singapore has had past successes of building new industries, ranging from microelectronics, finance, pharmaceuticals to advanced engineering, to name a few. I firmly believe we can achieve the same for the sustainability industry. Climate change is indeed a very existential threat to our world and our country today. The pressures will only increase as our demand for energy and as the developed economy continues. It is essential that we cultivate civic consciousness to the extent that sustainability becomes our way of life. So not only do we need to get everyone on board to fight against climate change, we must lead the way and lay the foundations today. All hands on deck, let's navigate this adventure together. Sir, I stand in support of the motion.
It has been proposed as a sub-amendment that after the word acknowledges in Mr. Tan's first amendment to leave out the words a climate emergency and there to insert the words that climate change is a global emergency and a threat to mankind. We're having a simultaneous debate. Members may wish to speak on all the amendments before the House. The question is that the words proposed to be left out be there left out.